are going to, about to say adjourn. We are going to call to order this November 17th, 2022 meeting of the Centreville Town Council. If we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Council should have a copy of the November 3rd minutes in front of them. Is there any changes or any motion to approve those minutes as presented?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Last meeting I misread a closed session statement. I just want to amend that perhaps. We did take action at the closed session on November 3rd, 2022. I'd like to amend that closed session statement by saying our actions were that the town council voted unanimously to affirm a decision made by the Personnel Review Board. Is that good enough, Carolyn, or do I need to read that whole thing again?
I don't think so. I think,
We don't need the motion to approve it or anything?
We don't do, we don't do that
No.
anyway. No.
Oh, good.
Good. All right, we'll have a citizens forum. Go ahead.
You could probably recite this
statement, yeah.
by yourself.
You have 3 minutes
All right, perfect.
and some other things.
I'm Tim McCluskey. I live on Watson Road. First, wanted to compliment the new website. Today was the first time I saw it on my cell
It just
phone,
went
and it looks
live today.
fantastic. I haven't seen it on my computer yet, but again, it looks great. It looks very easy to follow, so thank you. Council, according to the town charter, ordinance 09-2022, the growth allocation has expired. If the council wishes to pass this ordinance, it would need to be reintroduced as a new ordinance, have another public hearing, have a first and second reading before a vote is taken. Town Charter, Section 209, passage of ordinances states, at any regular or special meeting of the council held not less than 6, nor more than 60 days after a meeting at which the ordinance was introduced, it shall be passed or passed as amended or rejected, or its consideration deferred to some specified future date. Ordinance 09-2022 was introduced on September 15th, 2022. On October 20th, 2022, the ordinance was tabled. There was no specific date to which the ordinance was tabled. The public comment period for the public hearing was kept open for 2 weeks, but the unanimously approved motion only stated that the ordinance be tabled, not with a specific date, a specified date. On November 3rd, 2022, no action was taken on the ordinance. And on November 14th, 2022, the ordinance was at its 60 days since introduction. Today is November 17th, 2022, and therefore the ordinance has expired, and further action on ordinance 09-2022 is not consistent with the charter. I have included a timeline. I did send you an email earlier today. Council may wish to have the town attorney confirm that this ordinance has expired. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just note for the record, the council was made aware of this on October the 31st via email that we all got. Cited the charter on this issue, so appreciate that. I think we were aware. We'll move into the public hearing unless there's any further public comment. We'll move into the public hearing on ordinance 10-2022. The subject of this hearing is ordinance 10-2022, an ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville to amend the town's zoning ordinance codified as Chapter 170 of the Town Code to correct various references throughout the Chapter 170. I will now ask Ms. Van Emberg to provide a background on ordinance 10-2022. Good evening.
Good evening. So as we were, I might even have been on Carter Farm, going through it, we realized that there were some references in the zoning ordinance that were not correct. And there's also some state statutes and COMAR provisions that were all outdated and needed to be corrected. So this ordinance attempts to do all the ones we found. Hopefully we found them all. I'm sure that there will, in the future, be something else to correct, but they're mostly just clerical changes to update to the correct references. There is one substantive change, and that is more of a holdover from when we went from 3 to 5 council members. So there's a planning commission provision, which is that 170-64D, where an amendment required a 2/3 vote of the town council. When there were 3 members, that was the way it was, but now that there are 5 members, that would require a supermajority. So that is the only substantive change. All of the rest are just updating references.
Any questions for Sharon? I will now call upon Carolyn Brinkley, Town Clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certificate of Publication, State of Maryland, County of Queen Anne's. This is to certify that the annex legal advertisement has been published in the Publications and Insertions Ordinance Number 10/2022, Bay Times Record Observer 10/28/2022.
We will first hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 10-2022, and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well. Would you like to read the public comment guidelines?
Welcome to this meeting of the Centreville Town Council. This is a public meeting and we welcome your participation. By attending, you acknowledge that this session is recorded and aired live on QAC-TV 7. During the meeting, we ask that you turn your cell phones off and hold personal conversations outside the meeting room. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The Town Council respects and appreciates your desire and right to convey your message freely, and in keeping with the dignity of proceedings, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. If questions are a part of your comments, we will refer those to the appropriate individual.
We will now hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 10-2022. We will now hear from all those opposing proposed ordinance 10-2022. The Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 10-2022. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this hearing?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I now declare this hearing adjourned. We'll move into old business, ordinance 10-2022, the code reference corrections, chapter 170, consideration. We can pass this tonight, I believe, right? Yes. Since I have sponsored the motion, or sponsored the legislation, I'm not going to be the one who moves it. Any discussion?
There's some amendments I might like to discuss. How do I do that? We have to approve the ordinance? I mean, do we have to make a motion to approve first before we amend it, or do we?
You can make your suggestions. And then
Okay, I'll make suggestions then. The Planning Commission sent in some comments.
No, they pass it as,
Do they have 3 amendments?
well,
Yeah, well, those
Two
amendments should be
amendments.
included.
they
in
were
the,
made.
Right, yeah.
Those amendments should be made, should be included, right. As I was looking at those, I realized that it's a good thing they struck that reference, because it really doesn't, the reference doesn't really mean anything, okay? And if, actually, let me pass this out, because I took snippets of the code to kind of make this message a little more clear, so, yeah. Pass this one. Oh, here's some, okay. It's just 1 page, okay. The section in question is 17032. It has to do with parking, okay, parking areas. And D is design standards for parking areas, okay. The reference on 9, talked about landscaped areas and design standard for site plans. And neither one of those exist in the code anymore. Instead, a reference is made to 17047, which is site plans. And site plans is really just a bunch of technical requirements on how to submit a site plan. How big the drawing has to be, what calculations have to be made, all that. It's like, okay, well, that doesn't really mean anything. So the planning commission at least struck out all those references, but then I noticed in D8 that section was also referenced. And so it's really kind of meaningless. Maybe we can fix that later. I mean, try to fix it tonight.
We can fix it tonight.
Well, it really, if you don't have a reference, then you might as well strike the whole,
You said
that
D8.
number 8. You should just strike number 8 because it doesn't really mean anything. Because we don't talk about landscaped areas. I think what happened, and I didn't get a chance to research this, is that the tree ordinance kind of superseded all the landscaping requirements we had in parking areas. And so those references were never removed. And there's really nothing specific about parking areas in the tree ordinance either. So instead they talk about the entire site having certain tree canopies and whatever, instead of parking areas having trees. If you compare like the Acme, which has landscaping islands all over the parking areas, no, not the Acme, I'm sorry, the Food Lion Shopping Center. Compare that to the Acme Shopping Center, which doesn't have any of that, okay? So I think the ordinance was changed somewhere in there, and just all the references to that were not removed.
We could table until next week, and you can, or 2 weeks from now, and you can spend some more time with it.
If you want, yeah.
Because this is gonna change more, right? If we strike 8,
Yeah.
then there's gonna be.
Right, it's a change, and it's
Domino
like, well, how
effect.
many changes can you make before it's kind of like you have to recycle the whole
Where it goes
program?
back to the planning.
That would
Right.
be my recommendation, wait till the December meeting.
Well, at what point does it go back to the planning commission?
Well, that's,
So
well, that brings up, well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like your point, I guess, that the two large shopping centers in town were held to different standards. So it wouldn't even be reasonable just to leave it at landscaped areas within parking lots shall be provided and just strike the reference back to 17047. Leave the requirement, but strike that dated code reference. And that would be less substantive, I mean, that wouldn't be substantive in my mind. It would keep the spirit of it, but.
Pam?
I don't think,
I mean, this is
I
a
don't think,
code, this is.
well, yeah, we don't want to change the character of the code, right? We just want to change the references. The thing is, the reference isn't really valid.
Because that
So-
sentence still means something.
does-
Landscape
yeah, it
areas
does.
within parking lot shall be provided. I mean, it's been
Okay.
required recently. Dunkin'
But
Donuts
it doesn't really
has
say
them.
what the criteria is, so
I think that's just part of
it's
site
just up to the
plan
planning
review.
commission to decide on that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Is it just, when it references a site plan, would it be, would the derivation of that be provided in the site plan, where it would give you clarity?
It would be declared, yeah, but there's.
I mean, it would have to be in the site plan. Everything's in the site.
Right, there's no.
Right, so I think that's what it's referring, my interpretation of 17047 is it's looking at the site plan to assure detailed compliance.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not, there's no standard of what you're complying with.
Yeah,
Just
that's true.
showing that you can show the calculation on how much your landscaping you have, but there's no requirement that you have it.
So wait.
This is the full extent of 170-47?
I was gonna go up my attic and pull out an old version of the code and see what this was really pointing at, you know, what landscape areas part of the code actually said. and
This
what-
is the full,
I took out the pieces, you know, no, that's not,
That's the
no,
headings.
that's just the headings. I didn't put all the technical details of what's under those headings, but that's what those site plan talks about. Who approves it,
Yeah.
who can,
yeah, yeah.
what's the procedure for processing the paper that comes in,
So
what
there,
happens afterwards, how do
So-
you enforce it?
It could be something out of section C within the site, within 17047, section C, may have something that references landscaping.
And
Okay.
D as well, F as well.
Okay. Well, then, okay, well, then we can leave it as is, that'd be fine.
Do we have a motion to adopt or not?
Was that your only, did you have something down here too? Or
Yeah, I have another thing to talk about too.
should we go over
Go
that
ahead.
first?
You're okay.
Right.
I just couldn't remember if it was.
You know, on 64, yeah, by striking the sentence, the last sentence in 170-64D, it's really, I mean, the purpose of this ordinance was to change references. It's really not changing a reference. It's really changing the code. And I think the intent here is to give a way out of this endless loop of submitting stuff back to the planning commission. You know, if we make a change, we have to send it back to them.
So,
But if you don't have that, then it just ends up going back and forth.
And what are
So
you
we need a
talking
way to
about?
vote on it and say, no, we're going
Drive it
to,
to
and by having a
two-thirds.
supermajority, I think, is an appropriate way to overrule.
so that one is the one substantive change, but we're not currently compliant with state law, right? That goes beyond the scope of what we're actually allowed to give as planning commission power. We can't make it a supermajority vote. And,
Okay.
and that was brought to us by
Okay.
the applicant for Royal Farms. They showed us where it was inconsistent with the state land use
Okay, Okay.
article.
all right. Good.
I'm good if you guys go forward.
All right, so you're looking for a motion?
I'm not sure what I'm looking for. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve. Sorry, I need the language written down for me. Ordinance number 10-2022.
Second.
I'll second it.
Eric beat you to it?
I didn't hear him, sorry.
Very small voice.
Oh, I didn't hear it either.
He coughed, he said second while coughing in case he needed to take it back.
That was a whisper second, I apologize. I need to use my inside voice.
All those in favor say, or any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you for your attention to detail, Councilperson Worth.
Here, here.
Thank you.
And all that hubbub, I've lost the agenda. Here we go. All right. Insured cash sweep usage.
So at the last meeting, you'll recall I brought up the proposal that we had just made a substantial payment using a partial public utility tax monies against the 2012 bond, reducing it from $1,460,000 down to $1,098,000. At this time, our ICS accounts are earning 3.83%. This money obviously will fluctuate as the market fluctuates, but at this time, and that's not enduring money, I would not propose using that for operational cost, lest it should decline. But at this time, it's up. We have not locked in because we're not seeing any indication that the market's going to recede, and we will do that once the market looks to recede. But we anticipate, rough order of magnitude in November, $48,000 in interest on our ICS accounts. And going forward, we'll get the same. We're using a more modest projection of $40,000 per month because our ICS accounts will fluctuate as monies come in and go out. But we would like to take those monies and apply them along with our next May payment of $123,700 on principal to knock our payment or our bond balance down to $736,000, and then repeat this process again in November with the public utility tax and the interest from ICS, which at a modest $240,000 will bring our balance from this November of $1,463,000 down to $121,000. And we believe with the tendency right now for the market for interest rates to rise again, that balance will be at zero if we do this. So we would pay off the 2012 bonds 9 years early, save $350,000 in interest, and return $181,000 to our operating capital.
Can I ask what the interest rate is on that bond?
The interest rate, I don't have it in front of me, I think it's 2.54, is that correct?
Yeah, it's 2.54.
Yeah.
So we're earning 3.8 and we're going to pay off 2.4.
That's the only bond that's unlocked right now.
And I think he's saying we're making more than we're spending.
So we
In
just could
interest.
keep banking the money until the interest rates drop, and it's not worth investing anymore, and then pay it off.
We could do that, or we could just clear it from the books.
Yeah,
And-
My fear would be, once it got up there, we'd do something else with it,
yeah, that's true.
you know?
I'd be supportive of the using the interest, but why would we be committing right now, next year, some of next year's PUT funds? I feel a little uncomfortable making a decision that's,
When you're earning 3.8, why would you pay off at 2.4? You're making money.
What would normally happen to this? We did earn interest on this money. What would normally happen to that interest?
That interest has been, in the past, I think it's been scraped off to balance the budget.
Okay. And that was like, I mean, we're talking like, we were probably earning 0.5% or something, or
Roughly.
some very small amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. At what point would we kind of stop investing, what percentage? Maybe that's the way we should look at it. What percent rate would we just stop doing this and would just allow it to accumulate in the budget? What point is it really not worth doing?
I'm more in favor of starting to clear some of this debt off. We've been carrying it, we keep carrying it, we keep kicking down the can down the road on different things. We've got money in the ICS accounts that should have been used to pay and repair roads that are now gonna cost us 3 times as much to repair.
Yeah.
Rather than making a decision, let's start clearing some of the debt off the books. We're trying to get money from the state to pay for our plant. And it's council's decision.
If we went out to get new debt now, what would the rate we would be compelled to pay?
We haven't even looked into that because we've only got maybe $1 million in bond capability.
Because we're leveraged.
We're leveraged.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't even know at this point with the amount of debt we have that there would be any more debt that we could get.
I understood, it was just a comparison.
Yeah.
Of what the cost of new money is versus retaining this.
Yeah, I
at
haven't, I
2.4.
mean, I could definitely check with Charlie Day just to see what rates we're going for right now. Yeah,
Probably north of 2.5, I suspect.
I would absolutely think so, yeah. Our 2016 is 3 points.
3.5,
Yeah,
something like
so,
that.
When does that unlock?
2020, June of 2025.
We're not going to make a payment, and you're not going to actually transfer funds until
Not until May.
May. So
This
not
could- we
not
can table
essential
it.
that we do this tonight?
No, it's just a plan.
It was a discussion I think we had last week, and he wanted to kind of officially put it in the memo just so it was on the record for,
I'd certainly like us to keep an eye on it. I mean, we talk about the debt a lot, and as we head into the new budget, too.
yeah, we'll be managing monthly, so I'll give Chip monthly updates on the interest, and then we can let you guys know.
Yeah, I like the idea of revisiting this frequently.
What is the debt-to-income ratio of the town? Roughly.
You weren't prepared to answer that?
I wasn't. Our revenues are 8 million, our debt's 14, so
Yeah.
it's pretty high, and,
Pretty
in a-
unhealthy, one would argue.
Right, especially when we're looking at the plan, I think the problem is too, because of our income for the town of Centreville being above the median, it kind of kills us for a lot of the grants, and everybody wants to talk to us about loans and 1% loans, which, those are great, but in 40 years, you're still paying this loan and you need a new plant. So that's kind of why we were trying to find some solutions to reduce debt so that we could afford things with fund balance and operating and, and not have to take on more debt as a municipality.
We're not going to take that interest away if we don't do this. So that interest is just compounding in the account now.
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
it'll be there in May if.
Oh, absolutely, yep. It adds every month back to the balance, and then that interest, along with the balance, is earning interest.
The sound thing to do would be to bank all that interest cash and use it to reduce the amount of any new debt needed that'll be at a higher rate, and keep the debt at 2.4, so your blended rate stays lower.
sound thing, in my opinion, to do is pay down that debt and not incur any new debt.
Yeah, to me, incurring new debt isn't even a conversation, so the cost of money now is immaterial to me.
Yeah, and last time I talked to Charlie Day, if we were to incur new debt, it wouldn't be anything more than $1 million.
And one more reason why this conversation is so important, we all know this, but I'm just gonna say it, is once and if, though I wanna say when, not if, we get the funding for the wastewater treatment facility replacement and expanded, the second that's open, we need to already have a path toward the next one in 20 years.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
this conversation is music to my ears, just that we're thinking like that.
And hopefully the allocation funds will be able to build up over those 20 years so that when the new plant is needed, that money's there and not covering the current to balance the budget.
Not uncomplicated arithmetic, but it would be nice to see the financials on, Jim's suggestion.
Yeah.
Right? What's the delta between paying down and the realized savings there
Right.
versus, at the higher interest rate,
Yep.
what we make
Yep.
there? Because if it's not, there is a lot of value in my mind to paying that debt down. I understand what Councilmember Beecham is saying pretty well. But,
Yeah, me too. I understand that for
but
sure.
I also think, we have a lot of debt.
Yeah.
And I think you sort of take advantage of a unique situation where rates are high to clear some of that out. I like that idea.
Absolutely. I mean, like, you reduce the debt some and not have to raise taxes or, those things nobody
Basically, we're
likes.
paying off our debt with the interest from our accounts. The accounts are still, we're not reaching into that.
Corpus.
The core monies, and we don't know how long this will last.
But the earned interest compounds and earns
Yeah.
interest itself.
Yes.
Be good to see those numbers.
Yeah.
And we'll defer a decision.
Yeah, that's why, when I said we projected the modest amount of 40K, is that compounding, adding another $300,000, that compounds over time, that by the time we get to May, I'm looking at if we do get the money for the plant, and I'm confident we're moving in the right direction, that we still have debt, that if there's an emergency situation, something comes up, we don't have the capacity to borrow.
But you will have accumulated cash. That's still earning a higher interest rate than you're paying on the bond.
I'll work on a delta.
Check.
Get you.
And what percentage of the town budget is debt service? Expect you to know this.
No. I'm just,
We're paying 1.6 million a year.
yeah, so I would 18%, yeah. I mean,
Big number.
it is because, the plant, trying to get the plant to balance every year is, the operating, and that's where the allocations would get eat into, because it was funding operating, and it really shouldn't. It should be used for debt or capital in the future improvements of the plant, but we've never been able to do that.
And we're gonna change it.
Yeah, as soon as, a bank account's ready for when we get the next allocation in to start setting it aside, so,
Excellent.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council has in front of them in their packet the application of Jeffrey Keel to be on the Planning Commission. I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Jeff Keel to the Planning Commission.
Second.
He's an alternate, right?
No,
Full
it's
member, right?
Full member.
there's 2 alternate spots open and 1 full spot open.
And is the full spot when does it expire?
It is a full 5 years.
Oh, it's 5 years.
Second thoughts or something?
It's not my term.
Don't know that he was aware of that. I still
Not
second
sure
it.
that he asked that question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Wonderful. Congratulations to Jeff, and I think he's going to come in next meeting to get sworn in.
Next meeting, yes. He wasn't available for tonight's meeting.
I don't think they'll meet before then, because it's the first, right?
It is the first, you're correct, yes. So it wouldn't be until the December 21st. I'm not sure that there's a work session in December.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Is there one on the 7th? Okay.
Oh,
It may
website.
have been canceled since I did those dates, but, yeah.
it's on the agenda. Reports of boards and commissions, Maryland Municipal League,
Nothing new to report, sir.
Council of Governments.
Oh, yes, we met last week in, Queenstown, and, they had not met, since May, and in the meantime, I guess, we all decided that we would just meet bi-monthly and skip the summer. So, we're not gonna be meeting, every month, and we will be the host of the January 11th meeting, somewhere in town, and I encourage other council members to attend. We went to Queenstown to, not just a representative showed up, that two other, at least one other council member showed up, so.
What was on the agenda in Queenstown?
Well, we had Catherine Hager came and talked about electronic filing of land records and how the town can use that. And, yeah, Carolyn was very interested in that. Because we're part of the approval process for any land transaction in town, so we could be part of that cycle and do it electronically rather than, I know it's a short walk to the courthouse, but,
Still
rather than carrying paper over there, so.
Well, and the part of the issue is that a lot of deeds are coming in from attorneys from across the bridge, and they're mailing, FedExing theirs in, and then, which is no big deal. Then we walk it over here to finance, and then finance walks it over to, well, actually, finance doesn't. They do everything electronically, so. And there's, the system is set up to accept payments, so if there is a payment due on their account, we can get paid and the town can sign off and it gets sent over here, and much easier. Of course, we would still welcome walk-ins.
And then each of the towns kind of does a small report on what they're up to, and it looks like Churchill's looking to upgrade their wastewater treatment plant, and Queenstown needs to expand theirs as well. And they talked about the issues they were having with their membranes replacements, rather expensive, frequent replacements that need to be done to those, so.
Is Queenstown, do you know, is it a lagoon?
Pardon?
Is that a lagoon system?
No, it's discharge into the creek, yeah. And other towns are installing speed cameras, so look out.
Yeah, did you get a rundown of those locations?
Yeah, we'll get the location. Well, it's just like the problems we're having to install them with state highways, they're having that trouble too. The state doesn't seem to like having them on state highways, so. And I guess the sheriff's office is the one who has to review all those tickets, so they're kind of like letting the towns be aware of that as well. Not that like they're asking for more money or whatever, but to let them know it's a manpower issue to review those tickets, so.
They don't review hours, do they?
No.
Right, it's the other towns.
Yeah, we have our own police do that, so.
Sudlersville, I think, is the only one that has their speed cameras implemented, but I believe the other ones are looking into
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it's gotta be
If they
pretty
have
limited. They have to have a school.
Right, so Queenstown wouldn't be able to, they don't have a school. Churchill could, and Churchill is looking at it.
Economic development.
Just a quick update, the report card, the self-assessment form that we put together for evaluating the 2015 Economic Development Plan. Pat Fox has been working on that, took a stab at it. We have a few others that are going to look at that, and so it'll be an upcoming meeting that we present that to this body as an update. And I have nothing further.
Park Advisory Board.
Just a reminder that if you want to help decorate the town for the holidays, it's Sunday, the 27th at noon at Town Hall where you meet. That's all I got.
Planning Commission has not met in quite some time with a lack of an agenda. But They would like to have, we are required, as the council knows, to review and pass the community plan refresh. And I think there is a desire from the Planning Commission chair that I share to have lots of public engagement in that process. And so we are thinking through and maybe an innovative event mimicking what the town of Easton did about a month ago. They did 30 minutes for the next 30 years, and they came in and they had portions of their comprehensive plan on poster board, and they brought in and sort of gathered people's thoughts, and I think it would be nice to have council consensus that we have something like that to pull people in, because there has been very limited public engagement on this plan. In fact, a handful of people have come to the meetings, so I think it'd be nice to deliver consensus to the Planning Commission that we are for this.
Sounds good to me.
I think that's great.
Are there other community meetings regularly occurring that we could,
There have been.
crash?
There have been.
No, I mean, not specifically for the comprehensive plan,
Oh,
but
you
just
mean-
general
Right,
meetings.
like go to
Yeah,
a
yeah.
Assembly Village meeting or go to another
Sure, I
meeting.
think that that's part of the plan the Planning Commission has.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think we'd come, take the show on the road, for sure. Reports of department heads, town manager.
Okay, so clarify on the 2012 bond, our current interest rate on ICS is 3.83. The 2012 bond is 3.562. So it's a third of a percent difference. Last week, Kip and I and Janelle went to a water reuse seminar in Annapolis. Some interesting insights. Some of the water reuse items were singular point solutions to unique opportunities that didn't really have an effect on what we would like to do. But there were some new efforts to start coalescing around some concepts. Maryland has been slow to engage. There's a mix in both Maryland and Virginia academia versus imperative, that they're studying the results of all these kind of new initiatives for water injection. On the imperative side, Florida is moving to full mandate in 5 years, all water will be reused. There won't be just a wholesale discharge. Everything we're looking at is not a new concept. For instance, San Antonio, they go right from the back of their plant back into the water system. And when proffered the idea to go back to charging aquifers or discharging, the citizenry voted that the water was that good to continue to go in that direction. So some of the things that are being talked about aren't new. It's just a matter of they're new to Maryland. When we met with MDE, they said, well, come to us with some innovative ideas, and we were kind of at a loss. It's like, it's not much more innovative than something we're not doing. Also had a discussion with Secretary Brinkley. It was supposed to be an allotted 5 to 7 minutes. It ended up being 20. Gave an overview of our need and why we were asking to be in the budget. He had some questions on our current rates and rate increases in the past. Asked about shifting capital. I explained to him we only had about $150,000 in capital in this year's budget, and asked about the comparables for our town versus other local municipalities, which we have provided, and then a follow-up letter to kind of rehash all that we had talked about, which I did send to him. We did drill down into the idea of the 301, 304 interchange, and that there's a commercial opportunity there with that 32-acre truck stop that they own. Lots to think about. We are confident. It was a good conversation. The feedback I got from our lobbyists was very good. We do run into some statutory limits with what we can get out of the state revolving fund as far as grants. So there might be some creative financing to work around that and bring in the money from different sectors within the budget. And we're hoping, one of the discussions was that the ask per the PER was $25 million. The ask per the application was $32 million. So once that opening came up, I kept it at that $30 million level. And his response to me, I said, look, we're looking at inflation and different cost vectors. He said that's a wise way to look at it. So I was very comfortable that we had made that move to push for the extra. Might not get it, but even if we drop down from 30 to 25, we're where we need to be. Then we met with WRA today to discuss teasing more out of BRF, looking at phasing the construction. For instance, the lagoon is 2.75 million, but we don't need the new lagoon right now. That could be something we would look at in 24 and 25. So looking at how do we build this, how do we fund this across the fiscal year development plan.
WRA, what is that?
Whitman Reckart, they're the folks that did that's the engineering firm.
Engineering firm, and
Yes.
BRF is the Bay Restoration Fund.
Yes. Yeah. The other discussions I've had this week were about power futures. We still, as I mentioned to you several months ago, right now we're at 0.0474 per kilowatt hour. Right now at current rates, through the past several months, it's more like 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So we may face a doubling in our electric, but we are tracking the futures. We're going to meet with Easton Utilities next week. They do a lot of purchasing of futures to kind of get how they do their forward purchasing. They look at cascading blocks instead of buying a wholesale. This is what we're going to pay across it. Looking at 2 megawatt blocks so that it's cascading like having CDs. So nothing that we're not all expiring at one time. It's not an all-in, because in 2 years, depending on the elections, the energy focus of our government may change dramatically and rates may drop. So we don't want to lock in too early. We don't want to lock in too late. But right now, the market, the volatility, to try and time it would be suicidal. I'm not going to steer Karen's thunder, but she's done a fantastic job for us. We just finished our fiscal audit, and the response back was that this is the cleanest audit we've had since 2009, and that we met our October 31 deadline with no extensions for the first time in 15 years. So high praise for Karen and her crew for working that. And then code enforcement. We're looking, it's probably going to be January before we mature this, a sponsor for a resolution. We want to look at including penalties in our fee structure.
Sponsor that.
I figured you would.
Let them finish.
Penalties for code issues, I'm in.
Yeah. And just for rough order of magnitude, it would be something along the lines of $50 for an administrative fee plus contractor cost. So if we have somebody come out and cut your grass, you're going to pay for that and an administrative fee. If we have to tow your vehicle, you're going to pay for that and administrative fee. 50, 100, and then for a third, 150, and subsequent would be 150.
Who would do the grass cutting? I mean, just,
We contract out. If
so
we
it's
have
not our
somebody-
guys cutting?
No, it's not
Okay.
our guys cutting grass. So we're looking into citation books, getting that sorted. Parts of it where our code enforcement officer would do things, parts of it like vehicles left on the road, unhitched, things that are on streets, where CPD would provide them the citation. And then looking at if they don't pay the ticket, what we do as far as going to court, or do we attach it to the utility bill so that it's there and it goes that if they want to clear the decks, if they want to sell their house, they're going to have to pay that off sooner or later.
What do we think about, a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, we were provided with a list of code violations that had specific names and addresses and violations. I'm curious what people think about that list being public, because that seems unsavory to me. That seems unnecessary to be sharing that list with people that ask, or publishing it on the website. I mean, not that we've done any of that, but I just want to, I mean.
Yeah, we just had a PIA for that list. A PIA, not just that list, but folks that are behind on taxes, all sorts of stuff, so.
We have.
We have.
Yeah, I don't feel great about us proactively doing anything with that list, certainly.
But people ask, we are inclined to share it.
Well, we've had just that PIA that came in.
Okay.
And we have to share it, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah. That list is more for council's awareness, and of course, we're tracking.
Sure.
Our
Bob Davis.
code enforcement officer.
It may fall under them.
Yeah, but there's
Doesn't feel
also-
great.
No.
There's also a list is who reported or who the complaint was, and that gets to be. a neighbor kind of problem too, so.
We don't, mostly they say anonymous.
Yeah,
Or town hall, they call
Well,
them the
there's
town
still some
hall.
names on there of the complainants, so.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
nothing about that list being, I mean, I'm very public about my code complaints, but nothing about that list needs to be published, in my opinion. Just like I think it's tacky when towns publish the people that are behind on their taxes.
Tacky's a good word.
It is tacky.
Yeah, the one request we got in was a guy in Virginia, and my mind is telling me that something we see frequently, particularly at CPD and here, that they're looking for Centreville, Virginia, and not Centreville, Maryland. Okay. So,
Maybe he wanted to buy a pump station, yeah.
but I'm pumped. And that's all I have for
Pump.
tonight.
It's that time on the agenda.
Nope, I'm done. Chief of Police? I appreciate that.
Good evening, members of
You.
the council. How are you all this evening?
Chief?
Good.
My part is very short and sweet this evening. I don't have much new business other than the police department is now starting to prep for the annual Christmas parade, which is one of the things that's going to lead me into the next portion. One of the things we're looking at is staffing for the parade, making sure we have plenty of officers along the routes to make sure and guarantee the safety of the community while the parade is in full swing. In touching on some of the old business concerning our staffing, I know that was brought up in other council meetings prior to. We had mentioned that we were in the process of hiring a few officers. At this time, we brought on 2 new officers this past Monday. They're now on the books for the Centreville Police Department and have acclimated very well. They're very excited to be here. Those words came out of their mouth. We are looking to add a 3rd officer, which will put us at full staff. We're hoping by mid-December roughly. So again, I think I had said before that we were looking before the beginning of the year to be at full staff, and I think we will be.
Are any of those 3 the female officers that you briefed on before, or no?
2 of those 3 are the female officers. We have the 3rd female officer. She will be starting the academy after January. The academy starts, I believe, January 4th, so she will be in attendance there. The 2 that we just hired was a young male and a young female from the Cambridge area.
We should bring him in and swear him in.
Well, we will. There's a couple things we were waiting on, just uniforms, things of that nature, to make it a little bit more professional.
I got you. Sure.
So, yeah, we look forward to getting them sworn in before the council, probably, I'm hoping, I don't know if we're gonna make it by the December meeting, but maybe January.
Awesome, look forward to meeting him.
Outside of that, we did have one more hire this Tuesday, and that was our new administrative assistant. She is doing very well. She's very excited to be here, and she's already outworked me by leaps and bounds. So we were very proud.
That's not hard to do, is it, Rob? No, I'm kidding. I had to put a little dig in there. I was a joke. It was a total joke.
No, she's doing very well, and we're glad to have her on board. So that's my piece for this evening. You have any questions for me at all? I'm sure you do.
I do not have any. Might need some applications for a new town clerk, I don't know.
Put it on our new website.
He knows I'm only joking. He's a very hard worker. He's very hard.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Town attorney. Finance officer.
I have nothing.
Director of Public Works. Never has nothing.
Never.
It's like an ask for money, is he?
I'll keep it brief for you this evening.
We like hearing from you.
Are you sure? One thing, just to let you know, we had a water leak on Johnstown Lane at the intersection of Powell Street. Public Works staff jumped on it and got it knocked out in short order. It was due to, like the rest of the town, bad pipes. Short section of pipe was replaced and water was restored. A very little section of Johnstown Lane and the wastewater plant, we had to shut the service down, but we took care of it. Of course, we're preparing for Christmas parade, Christmas decorating, all the events that go with it, so that's got us pretty busy. hydrant flushing started. We were able to knock out all of Symphony Village, got that all flushed. The flushing will start again the week after Thanksgiving. We won't be flushing anything between now and then just because of the holiday and because of staff.
Oh, the holiday, your guy's on holiday. I thought. A lot of people eating. I didn't know.
There will be a schedule on the new website that'll show what we're going to be in what area of town, so that helps people understand a little bit more of when we're flushing and when to be careful about washing and that kind of stuff.
I appreciate the email blast telling us that as well.
Yep. Just some quick updates on capital purchases that were approved. One DPW truck is out getting the salt brine spray rig mounted on it. It's supposed to be mounted today. This is for snow and ice pre-treatment. You see the state does it, and this seems to be a pretty effective route that a lot of municipalities and counties are going with. Another update on capital purchase, the 12-foot disc that was approved for purchase just recently actually came in for 6 weeks early. So that should be delivered sometime the week after Thanksgiving.
Right.
So, and that's all I've got.
Any questions?
Yep.
Human Resources Manager.
Evening.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I just have a few updates. Mine's mostly internal, with employees. So, holding the new employee orientation for the 3 new employees for the police department. I'll be holding that tomorrow. Continuing on the personnel manual code, that's just kind of been constant when I can fit that in between the other items. Met with Carolyn and Chip actually last week to discuss my first draft for the town's new employee performance management system that I've been working on. I'm also meeting with them again next week to kind of discuss some employee recognition for years of service achievement award ideas and trying to develop a plan for that. As a follow-up, the insurance claim from the last time it was brought up, the claimant has been contacted, and we're working with her on that.
Thank
you. Mm-hmm.
Real quick, I know we can't get into detail on that, but there was a question at the last meeting on whether that was in fact on town property. That was in fact on town property, correct?
Well, it was the sidewalk, so I can't really answer that for you. Yeah, that wasn't really discussed at the moment. It was just more or less trying to get the connection with the adjuster. So,
thank you.
But I can certainly find out. And then just I'm working on a better onboarding process for employees and kind of organizing the benefit enrollment. So that's my updates.
Right. Always good to onboard people well.
Yes.
I've been onboarded terribly, and it's really sets the tone for a new employee.
Yes.
So
Yep.
kudos to you for that.
So that's all I have. Anyone have any questions? So, no. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Town Clerk?
I wasn't sure if I was going to be allowed to talk or not.
I thought about it. Anything nice to say?
That our chief of police
Here we
is
go.
the best ever. Is the best ever.
Good recovery.
Yeah. So biggest news is the new website went live today. I'm so very excited about that. And so if anybody sees anything that is out of whack or doesn't look right or needs updating, please let us know. The parade is the other big thing, along with Chief and with Kip, that I'm working on. We have about probably about 65, 70 applicants, so we should hopefully have a decent, we've had more, we've had a little bit less, so it's a good number. So December 2nd, 6:30, we take off from the high school, and so hope everyone will be out and about.
What's the theme again this year?
The magic of Christmas.
The magic of Christmas.
Yes, I had to think about that for a second. The other thing is that at the last meeting, the council approved the December 9th employee breakfast, and we hope that all of you will be attending as well, and it will be at O'Shucks, 8:30 a.m. And that's all I have.
We will move into our second citizens forum. We'll now move into council roundtable. Councilperson Beecham.
Nothing to report, sir.
Councilperson Worth.
I visited GTI last week. Was very, very impressed with their facility, and you guys just have to see it. And I picked a good day because it was like last Thursday. I think it was like in the 70s or whatever. So it was a good time to see the outdoor grow facility as well. So encourage the remaining council members to see that soon. Also, I visited the website because I had to look up some old minutes, and it was so much easier just scrolling through dates rather than going backwards through calendars and clicking on the date and then looking for the meeting and then looking for the minutes. It's just so much quicker. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Well, Carolyn, we figured out who the one guy was.
Yep, we had one person on there today. No.
Good, yeah, it's a very nice website. Councilperson Johnson.
So as you all are aware, been working on the neighbor-to-neighbor questions and answers regarding Carter Farm. The first 39 of which, of course, the developers have answered. It's been on the town website. I did get some traffic from folks at home that were disappointed that this was not on the agenda for tonight, and I wrote back and just assured them that my plan, as I'm doing right now, is to speak to that we want folks to take a look at those questions and the answers that have been provided up to this point. If you feel like additional information might be needed, I'm just going to go ahead and give my email address. I know everybody's looking at me like, why are you doing this? ejohnson@townofcentreville.org. Again, ejohnson@townofcentreville.org. I am going to continue to compile the questions. We had the opportunity, Tim McCluskey took advantage of the offer to meet, so one of the developers and I had a chance to meet with him to produce some additional questions. So those, along with some others that have come in by way of email, we'll add to the town website with answers once we have that. So my thought is, it's a lot of information to present. My suggestion is not necessarily at a future meeting to present all of that, but really to say, here is the packet of all of that, and maybe point to some things by exception. So that's the proposal on the table, and that's all I have.
Thank you for doing that.
It's a pleasure.
I'll email you. Vice President Kaiser.
Just one thing, as a Centreville Farmers Market superfan, just want to remind people that the last chance to go to the market is, I'm going to get the date wrong, the first Sunday in December, whatever that is, the 4th?
4th.
Okay, it's a Saturday, right? You're right, Chief. It's a Saturday for the last one. The holiday market is December 3rd. It's the same day as Heck with the Malls at the Arts Council. The farmers market vendors will be there. They've really continuously showed up for Centreville this summer, and so I encourage you to take that last chance to support some of them here in town, and also encourage you to look at the farmers market's Facebook page, because they are linking to all the vendors so that you know how you can support them until farmers market season starts again.
Wonderful. I never have anything, but I have things tonight which are gonna keep us here past 8 o'clock, which was not my intention. The first is, I got contacted by a resident about the fire alarm at Goodwill and the frequency that it goes off. I don't know if other people have heard about this or not. But there was just some, I think, concern and some frustration about the number of times it goes off during the day. I don't have an opinion about it really, unless we can maybe reach out to Goodwill as a council and say, you know, is it still strictly necessary to have the alarm going off for calls? I know very little about how that system works. We talked to a former member of this body at the grocery store, and he said other volunteer fire departments in the county have stopped using their alarms altogether. I think he said Kent Island and United Communities ceased having their alarms. These guys get the alerts on their phone, I guess, mostly in their pagers. So just something that we might want to reach out to. Again, I do not have a strong feeling about the alarm, and it doesn't seem to bother the folks in the Heights too much, but this guy was curious about what might be able to be done there. And then the second thing I wanted to bring up was the State Highway Administration owns the property at the bottom of the hill here. It's like 12 or 13 acres of property. It is adjacent to our 77-acre parcel, which runs up and behind Symphony Village, and where the council has budgeted $135,000 for some trails and walkability. It would be in the town's best interest, in my opinion, to seek to acquire the property from the State Highway Administration at some insubstantial cost, hopefully $1.
$1 American dollar.
To then use the property for its intended purpose, which was stormwater mitigation, which I think, you know, given the current of stormwater coming down, not necessarily coming down 213, but coming down from that neighborhood, just kind of north and east of there, could be a meaningful stormwater mitigation. That's what it was supposed to be anyway. And so I think this council, or maybe the previous council, sent a letter.
We did send a letter last November, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to kind of re-engage with that process.
Sure.
The reason I bring it up tonight is because the property in between is on the market, or has been on the market in the past. And I think, you know, the council should consider, the town should consider the potential for, you know, purchasing that piece of property, which is in the floodplain of Millstream, and really having a very connected park with the Millstream Park on the other side of the road, a truly immersive stormwater, but also hiking. I think you could put in some interpretive trails there, some passive recreation to get you back up into the 77 acres we already own. I think it'd be a really nice network of things down there. So I'm interested in any council members that want to help out and make this happen.
Are you suggesting we also buy the privately owned parcel, or?
Maybe look into it.
Because I believe there's a contract for purchase on that parcel.
Okay.
There were some floodplain issues around that
Well,
one.
yeah, I mean, it's wet always.
Always, yeah.
So the question is,
I'd like to be involved in that.
oh, great.
Absolutely.
We'll see what we can make happen. It requires a little bit of vision, but we do have some plans for what I would call kind of a really basic stormwater pond, kind of the way they built stormwater 15 years ago, which is just a single deep pond. And then we also have it was environmental concern that did
Yeah,
the second plan.
there was some interesting plans.
Yeah, so the sort of more modern stormwater plan, which was a number of step pools that would be shallow in nature and really provide some good wildlife habitat as well here in town, and be very scenic in terms of the hiking experience and the recreation experience. So just wanted to put that on people's radar.
And forgive me, but if I can just comment quickly on the first item. I personally think that with the technology, it's worth considering having that go away, the alarming. However, just the so why was it there in the first place? We all know that that preceded cell phones and things like that. But I do remember as a kid that it was understood that if it went off so many times, it was ambulance versus fire, but if it kept going off, that it was a public emergency of some sort. And so one of the benefits, obviously, of this continuing to go off is we know that it works. And so while I would be absolutely for it stopping, it would be great to have an understanding with the fire department on some sort of, annual testing and, reminding the public that, hey, if we no longer have it and it's going off and it doesn't stop, there's, watch the news or whatever the recommended action would be.
It's got to go off every Tuesday at 10 o'clock to test. I think that's fine, right? But
I did appreciate the suggestion from the resident that sent it in of saying, if it needs to go off when there's a building fire, great, but limit it, because it does, I hear it at my house, it doesn't bother me any, but I do hear it. It does seem to go off a lot. I even, before we got that email, had commented to one of our neighbors, does it seem like it's going off a lot more than normal? Because it does feel pretty excessive. But again, it doesn't bother me any. You live in a small town, you hear a small town fire alarm, sort of is what it is.
I can pretty much tune it out.
Right.
I don't even notice it anymore.
yeah, I have as
So,
well.
Or you can get used to anything.
yeah.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Can we get the county to change that clock?
I know it's so.